now we just got to get this repaired. That nasty thing. So Xana and I popped by the house, and you'll notice all this light flickering here. The flickering's been going on for a little bit. It wasn't a big deal, but I might be getting on to replacing the electrical panels sooner than later. So at some point while we were here, we were getting intermittent power failures, and the light was going off altogether and then coming back on. When I come down, I heard quite a buzz coming out of the panel box. Let's see, I think I can turn on. No, I can't. So I guess maybe you can kind of see it there. But it's this this lower one here. The second post coming in. It's a little busty there, and you can hear a little bit of clicking. And when I opened it up, I saw a bit of arcing. Now, on its own, if left alone with power running, that can eventually cause a very serious problem. If it gets bad enough, it might even cause a fire. So I'm going to replace this sooner than later. It was already on the roster. And I've already picked up a new panel box, so it looks like I'll be putting that in probably right away. So I'm just working out with Consumers Energy, how they're going to go about this. They classified this as an emergency service, so I might not get power shut off quite the way I want it to, which is going to be pretty annoying, but I'm waiting around. Hopefully I run into the service tech, and if I do, I'm going to see if I can get them to disconnect the line just a little further back. That way I can just do my work, get everything updated, throw it back together the way it should be. So that's the hope. We'll see what happens. So, looks like the energy company was by yesterday, and we did get a disconnect. It wasn't quite what I was hoping for, but it's good enough. I could work with this. So yeah, here is the aftermath. There is the face of the meter. They took the meter out and they disconnected the lines. They just clipped them up in the air. So here's what was connected, and these two lines here, those are actually still alive. Those are the that's the main drop from the pole. So ideally they would have disconnected it maybe a further back, but I can work with that. That's fine. So they clip the lines, and yes, they clip them live. Believe it or not, it is quite safe. You just got to know what you're doing. Not a big deal. So it's not a big deal, really. This is all work that had to be done anyway, and we're just gonna get it done. I'm gonna rip all this off. I really don't like this. Just the wire out, no conduit. Not a big fan of that when it comes to your service. So to bring it up to code, this is the meter base. I'm gonna work with what's existing here. I'm gonna have a conduit going up with a weather head up there, and it's gonna tie into that, and that'll be all done nice proper. And we're gonna have a main service disconnect. So in order to bring it up to modern code, there has to be an exterior disconnect installed, and from there I'm gonna bring it back into the house. I'm gonna maybe clean that up a little. That's pretty unsightly. That was from their original work. They just tore their way through, I guess. Animals. So yeah, a main disconnect on the outside is code now in most locations. I think there are interior locations close to the entrance you can place them, but for the most part you want to have it outside. The purpose of that is for emergency services. So when the emergency services come, they want a nice easy access to be able to shut power off for the entire structure. In case of an electrical fire or something like that, it's just safer than going inside and trying to do it there. So that's the purpose of that. So it's a little dark in the house now. It's a bummer, but like I said, it did have to be done, and I'm going to start getting all these pieces together. I already have most of what I need, and we'll get it underway. And just remember, if you're liking what you see, if you're enjoying our little journey here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, share it with someone you know. You know, maybe they'll like it too. And yeah, we're happy to bring you along. So let's get to it. All right. So, like many great and harrowing tales, this one starts in a dungeon. All right. So, if I can comb through this, good. Wish I left it a little bit better marked. I don't know. So I'm going to start by stripping this down a little bit. Now that I got it off, see if I can get this in the right light. So you can see, kinda. You know what? I can do this. There we go. So this connector here, this one's fine, but you see down here, that just fell apart. And that's what had happened. I came in yesterday night, and we weren't even supposed to be here. I was just, I was wanting to stay home actually, and Xana had something she wanted to do. And we came, and really glad we did, because this was a potential electrical fire. This was arcing when I first took the panel door off. So that's no laughing matter. So either way, this is junk, and we'll be moving on to the next panel, which is just upstairs. Alright, so we're going to keep going, stripping this down. See how well, easily this pulls out. That's a big line. That wasn't so bad. So forgot to move the camera again, but I got it down so you can see. So over here, a little bit of a problem. This is rated for 125 amp, not 200. The meter that the electrical company put in was rated for 200 amp. So that box is apparently rated for 125 amp. I'm not sure if the box itself matters, but I'm going to check in on that before I go too far. But in the meantime, I got to get some things prepped up to install these boxes. So eventually I plan on redoing the siding, but in the meantime, this still has to be addressed. You don't want to leave a big hole, gaping hole like that. And it would probably be ideal to just get a nice plate on there. It's something we often do on projects, is we'll just put a nice little panel, an area where we can install things and it doesn't impact the siding around. So I've got some materials good for that at home, so I'm gonna pull some of them and bring them in, and I'll get that installed before I go too far on this. And then we can hop back into the basement and see how our new panel box is going to fit in. It's quite a bit larger than the previous one, so I'll have to do a little bit of framing there before it goes in. Take out the internet thingy. I don't actually know what these things are called. I'm sure everybody else does, but I don't. So if you look over here, that is our nice new panel box. It is beautiful, even just as it is. I hardly want to put holes in it, but I'm going to. So this opening is not going to work anymore. So I think what I'm going to do, because I also want it lowered down a little bit. It's nice to be able to staple the lines to the backer board and organize it a little bit. I'm going to take the framing off from here. I'm going to leave the base plate on. I'm just going to zip it at the bottom and set this stuff aside. The material is probably still good, but it's easier to rearrange it out of place than it is in the state it's in. This. As this installed. Bolts. Yeah, I'm just going to pry them off. So, looks like fans. I'm going to grab what I need to zip those off, and I'm going to make myself a new backer board, something a little larger. So I'm back in now. I was a little bit unprepared yesterday. I started getting into it and realized I was missing this, missing that, and that's the problem when you start something a little out of order. I forgot about all the extra things I needed. So I'm a lot more prepared today. And we're going to continue first with stripping all this down. So I'm going to take this box off, and I'm going to do my best to identify which wires are no longer being used and strip this down a little bit. It drives me absolutely crazy, these utility companies. They come in, they add more lines, they don't remove anything, and they just put it wherever, however. And I don't know about you, but I can't stand it. And it looks so ugly. But at any rate, this is probably staying like that for the time being anyway, but I can work with this. And for this, it takes one of those little security bits, and unbeknownst to the utility company, I happen to have one, so I'm going to open that up, and if it's no longer in use, I'm going to strip it down, because I know there's a telephone line in there. Those are no longer being used, and I at least want to clean things up. I might leave the telephone line. I think it's actually illegal to remove that. You have to get them to do it. But I'm going to see. It might not even be tapped into anything. If you call them to remove it, I think sometimes they send somebody out and all they'll do is just clip the line and leave it. So it's really kind of silly. At any rate, I'm just going to take care of it. Let me get that for you, Ray. Just wipe you off there. There you go, all nice and clean. Alright, so this is the ground rod that stays. Here's telephone. And yeah, it's still hooked up to something. I'm just going to clean these lines up, disconnect them from the other side, pull them through, all that jazz. Lovely. I'm not going to disconnect the telephone line, but I am going to leave it coiled up inside the box. It's out of the way. So what I got to do now is I'm going to make a plate to put these meters on, and these are them here. So here is the new meter base, and this is the breaker panel I got to put in. So this is 24 inches tall, and side by side I got to gap them from each other. I want at least say 4 inches. Now I happen to have a really good piece for that. This is what's called MDO. It's a medium density outboard. So this is an exterior grade panel product. It's commonly used for billboards and things like that, but I frequently use it on projects and I wind up with little pieces like this left over. So I'm going to use that for the main plate here. The one piece there is 24 by 29, so it's perfect just the way it is. I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm just going to put it on the wall there. And I think what I might do, because I'm going to be going over all this whenever I get around to the siding, so I don't want to go too crazy here. So the offcuts from when I take the siding out, I'm just going to use that to splice in over all this damaged area, and I'm going to put all this stuff back just looking a little cleaner. So now we're gonna make a few pieces on the brake press, which I have set up around the corner. Start by taking off the flat stock we need. So when aluminum comes like this in a roll, it's called flat stock. You don't need anything big. It's got to be big enough. Although, ain't wide enough. So we're going to make it... I'm just going to double check that. I'll be right back. Alright, so the longest dimension, 29 inches. We want to add a bit, and let's just make it 32 inches. More than enough. I just put my square along here. That gets it straight enough. Pretty simple from here. Just score it with a knife. Break it off. That's the first step. So now over here at the brake press, this is my smaller brake. So I didn't go quite as far back. My other one is a 20-inch throat, which means I can actually put this in 20 inches deep. This one's a 14. So what we want to do, I got this. Now I want to determine the width I'm going to use. And I got 5 pieces to make. I got 4 pieces of J-channel that I have to wrap all the way around. And I'm also going to put a starter strip, or a drip edge, sorry, on the very top. So I think to make this even, I'm going to do the J-channels. They're going to be done a little bit modified from standard. And I'm going to do them 5 inches each. And that'll leave me with 4-inch at the end. That'll do the drip edge. Again, so this one will have to be cut down again. But this gets it so I can manage everything else. When you're running off with your knife, you don't want to go too far and run into your hinge on the brake press. When you do that, it leaves a bunch of little gouges. It's all aluminum, so it's kind of soft. I'm just going to set that piece aside for right now. We're going to do 2 5-inch wide. It doesn't have to be super perfect. We'll get it close. So leave a 4-inch piece. And bang on. So we're going to start with a hem. And for that, I just run it out to the edge of the nose. That's this piece here. All the way around. Bring it up. Back in here. And what that does is it creates a nice soft edge that you can run your fingers on without cutting. I'll put it back in. Once again, this isn't an important measurement, so I'm just going to put it where it lands. And you want to overbend this one. And when you're doing this, because there's less pressure on the corners, it always overbends. So you always come back and you kind of massage it into place. And from here, we're going to give this 1 inch. As I said, I'm doing these ones a little bit different. So what you can see here is I have a standard J trim up along here, but then I brought it back, and that's because when I go to tuck it into the wall, I need something to attach to, and I can attach it back here now. We're going to make all the rest of these the same and get those installed. Alright, this up. Look at that. That just fit like a glove. Well, I'm going to stick to a hidden fastener from here on out. I know these screws are going to wind up behind the panels, so I don't really care about them. Alright. So now we just got to get this repaired. That nasty thing. And we'll start setting up the panels. We're going to use that zip tool. See if I got it. By chance, it just happened to be here. It's going to be a struggle, I see. Well, it'll hold until we redo the siding. Alright. Now to the fun stuff. Alright, so get these opened up. Ready to go. Alright, well, forgot to grab something to do these knockouts. As soon as I grab that, we'll get back to it. Now all we got to do with the conduit is run it up the wall and throw the weather head on, but I got to go pick up that that top piece there. I just grabbed the wrong brand. That's a shame. Alright, so I'm going to run a few of these big wires before heading in. And see how easy it goes. I should have gotten a 2-inch conduit, but I kind of like the lower profile, so it's going to be a little bit of a tight squeeze. So now we come to the real challenge. This is a thicker line. It's got one more line in it. So turning that corner is going to be a real challenge, getting it into the house. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, so I did a little bit of brainstorming in my little break there, and it was more of a drizzle. I'm not going to lie. I didn't come up with any good ideas. In the end, I think I was a little bit too cocky when I thought I could feed that line through that tight corner. So I'm taking a different approach, and we're going to see how this goes. So let me see if I can zoom in here. Camera's kind of stuck where it is. So you'll see I got line over here. This still has the jacket on it, and I've stripped it off over here. And the purpose there is we don't need the jacket on inside the conduit. So I'm going to feed the line through into the house, and then I'm going to unbraid this line and feed it through one at a time, and I should have better luck that way. It's much easier to manage that. I think it was way too much thinking I could move 4 of those lines at a time. So I'm going to give that a whirl and see what happens. Man, I was definitely crazy because it's taken a lot of effort just to feed one line through this. I'll get right back to you. I'm gonna try and think of a way to tuck that in a little bit better.